Well, as I said before, welcome everybody. I am really excited to see so many people here. Thank you for joining me on this information session for the 2023 application cycle for the Alt Protein project. My name is Nathan Algrim, and I am the academic community manager at GFI. And what that means is that I have the privilege of working directly with students across the globe as they work within the Alt Protein project to help their universities grow into engines of education, research, and innovation in the alternative protein space. I'm joined in this call by a few of my team members, Hannah and Amy. We are just a very small representation of the fantastic group that is at the Good Food Institute and the Alternative Protein Project. We'll be talking a little bit more about how everyone fits in to help support our students in a little bit. So you know what to expect in the next hour. I really only plan to spend about half of our time together presenting the information about the Alt Protein project, because I definitely believe that often the most useful information is information that is specific to you. So throughout the entire presentation, you are welcome to drop questions in the chat, and we will make sure to have those answered at the end. If there is anything that kind of needs to be clarified while I am in the middle of the presentation, Hannah, you are more than welcome to stop me in the middle. So as the agenda suggests, I will start just by introducing both the Alt Protein Project and the Good Food Institute. I'll talk about some of the criteria we have for our program, go over some pointers on the application itself, and highlight how we support you and what makes our program so special. So after that, we will definitely dedicate plenty of time for Q&A. And before we get going, since I was a previous educator in my past life, I would be remiss if I did not point out that these slides are about to have a lot of words on them. And I know that if there is any student in the audience who is remotely similar to me, like you feel like you need to write all of it down and take notes, we will be sharing this recording. We will be sharing these slides. So do not feel the need to write everything down. This is so it can be a resource for you after the fact. And with that, let's get into it. So of course, big question, what is the Alt Protein Project? I'm sure you have a little bit of information because you're here, but I do like starting, before we dig into the project itself, into the Good Food Institute, the place that I and everybody else on the team works. The Good Food Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit, and our driving purpose is to develop the roadmap for a sustainable, secure, and just protein supply. And we do this basically across all sectors. So that's broken down into three large categories, one being science and technology, and that's where I work out of, because we know that one of the fundamental bottlenecks of expanding alternative proteins is that we just need more research and development in this space. Another sector is with corporate engagement, because of course, all the research and development in the world won't do you very much if there is nobody to get the products out to consumers. And likewise, we focus on policy because governmental funding can be that key linchpin to really transition any of those products or research to the scale that is needed for what we are hoping to do. And with regulation, we definitely need to make sure that everyone can remain safe, but can maintain access for all of these really exciting new products. And it is not just out of the United States that we are based. I am based out of the United States, but we have affiliates all across the world in Brazil, Europe, Israel, India, and the Asia Pacific region. We'll talk a little bit more about how those regional mentors can kind of play into the Alternative Protein Project in just a bit. So when it comes to our theory of change, what GFI does and why we do it this way, it really comes down to the problem that we see. And that is exactly what you see here, that current meat, egg, and dairy production is unsustainable and inefficient. It is a key driver of a lot of the biggest and most pressing challenges in our world today, including climate change, environmental degradation, and antibiotic resistance. And what we hope to do and facilitate as an institute is creating meat, eggs, and dairy more sustainably and efficiently by making them from plants, cultivating them directly from cells, or producing them by fermentation. So we talk about alternative proteins because we know, try as we might, try as anyone might, people enjoy the foods they are familiar with. And it is a very hard ask to ask people to give up foods they love. So instead of that, what we focus on is accelerating the transition to alternative proteins by changing those default options to products that are equally, if not more, delicious, affordable, and accessible. Then we can finally come to the Alt Protein Project and what we are doing here. And it does come down to our theory of change and the recognition that universities really can be those alternative protein hubs. Our goal is to allow the project and our community to find, train, and empower students to become leaders at their universities and build those academic ecosystems that kind of create that pipeline, both for research and talent. Now, we are grounded in 5 objectives. One, of course, being just the general awareness of the alternative protein space. You are all here because you have at least some familiarity with alternative proteins, even if that is just you saw it and you were interested. But there are a lot of people. I live next door to people who now know what alternative proteins are, but that's only because I told them within the past few months. So awareness is a really key component. Of course, also, we really do hope that our community at the Alt Protein Project can be a nurturing and exciting community. So that is part of what we do together as well. But specifically in the university context, we really empower our students to drive education within their universities. And that can be building courses or lectures or modules or even majors that are focused on alternative protein science and development. Students definitely can also be drivers of research programs and projects with the labs that they are already working in, and we have many examples of successes in that realm as well. And finally, innovation. So we support students as they work to transition that research into a product through creation of startups and other such entrepreneurial efforts. And I know that I am very biased, but I do just kind of want to highlight how important this is, especially at the university ecosystem, because of how huge of a gap we currently have in the alternative protein space. As an example, plant-based meats are less than 2% of the total meat market. So there is a huge gap, both in terms of what products can be with research and development, the production capacity, and also then the talent that would be needed to fill all of those roles. And right now, there really is only a handful of dedicated courses at the university level to give these people the skills they need, to give you the skills you need to become the next generation of professionals, which is why we are here today, to really start building inertia behind that movement. And talking about building inertia, we founded the Alt Protein Project in 2020 with a group of with a collection of 6 groups from around the world. This was our pilot cohort. And this is what we look like now, which I just get so excited every time I see this map, because you can see the representation from across the world. We currently have 30 active student groups, And we are here today because we are in the middle of our application cycle where we hope to welcome so many more. Excuse me, 5 groups. Yes. So we've grown even more since the beginning. And it is really hard for me to just kind of limit myself to a few highlights about what our community is doing today, but just to give some tangible examples of the amazing things that our leaders have done. Of course, we are an alt protein community. So there are so many tasting events and even factory tours, laboratory tours that allow people to try these exciting new products, which I am incredibly jealous of because I am relatively new to GFI and I have yet to go on any of these tours, but fingers crossed, it's going to happen to me at some point. So you see a lot of these tasting events represented, but our groups also form dedicated alt protein courses. They are the ones to drive that at their universities. We also have groups hosting career nights or career panels so that people can see kind of how they can fit their professional trajectory to it. And we even had a student group from the Alt Protein Project represented at COP27. And I don't know about you, but I can't really think of a stage much bigger than that. To put some numbers on this, we have definitely found a lot of success from our groups, really in all of those objectives that I described before. So we have almost 500 active members, as well as thousands of people who have interacted with our Alt Protein Project groups. And just within the past 6 months, we have seen 5 courses and modules taught, which includes hands-on lab training, which I find extremely exciting as someone who was kind of raised through the scientific ecosystem myself. A handful of research projects and many events, again, reaching thousands of people. So if you need any example of can students actually make change, I think this is a great way to demonstrate, yes, you definitely can be those change makers in your university. So with all that said, let's kind of get into what we are looking for in our applicants. So first, thinking about what universities would really be a good fit for our program. And our focus is for student leaders to be coming to us from research universities, because what we have found is that allows your group to kind of have the foundation for a long-lasting alternative protein ecosystem. And there are a number of different ways that this can kind of be found in your university. So first, of course, we want you to be based in a university where you think that you're in an ecosystem where you can energize your community around, especially the science, engineering, and commercialization of alt proteins. It also does help if you're located in a region with some established agricultural technology, biotechnology, or manufacturing capabilities, because the ability to partner with the industry side of the sector can really help multiply the efforts that you are making within the university. And finally, we do look for groups that are housed in universities that have strong programs in the sciences that enable alternative protein innovation. But I don't want you to think of that as really limiting, because one of the amazing things about the alternative protein space is how inherently interdisciplinary it is. There are the specific fields that you can think of as particularly relevant, like plant biology, food science. I know there are a couple of programs in flavor science, but if you kind of zoom out, physics is involved, chemistry is involved, biology is involved, and you can find research programs and professors who are excited to join the alt protein space in almost every related department. So I do want to kind of highlight some points on this, kind of to reiterate that we're focusing our efforts on research universities because, as I had said before, we find that the core bottleneck constraining the production and uptake of alternative proteins is basic research and development. But as I say this, I do want to acknowledge that research programs are not all inclusive, especially since this is such a new field. Many of the research partners that GFI has worked with, including some of our grantees, entered the alternative protein space kind of as a side project. It was not their first focus, and they were studying a relevant topic or technique. And a lot of these people were actually steered towards alternative proteins because of students in the Alt Protein project. And this will also be the first time, but not the last time, that I talk about our commitment to a diverse community within the Alt Protein project. We are looking for our partner universities to be engaged in research to be our effective partners, but I don't want you to think that in me saying that, I'm saying we only accept one kind of university. So, of course, those big research powerhouses are fantastic partners. In the US, those are considered like R1 universities. But we are also really excited to partner with land-grant universities, minority-serving institutions, primarily undergraduate institutions, and others. So again, I will say this multiple times, but if you are unsure whether your university is a good fit for the Alt Protein project, all I ask is that you don't self-reject. Send your application in, and we can definitely talk about it and see if it is a good fit. When it comes to who we are looking for, we are looking for an organizing team. We have definitely found, as you may have found in other things that you have been working to lead, that it's really, really hard to do it by yourself. And we have found it to the point that we're not really setting people up for success if we send them out solo to start an Alt Protein chapter. So we look for a group of at least 2 co-organizers, where both, first and foremost, of course, demonstrate a commitment to our mission and values, being driven to help build a sustainable, secure, and just protein supply. We're looking for our co-organizers to be actively enrolled in a degree program. So typically that means students, graduate or undergraduate. But I do recognize that in some countries, in some university systems, people in PhD programs aren't considered students. If you are enrolled in a degree program, we are still open to having you as one of our co-organizers. And again, we want to set you up for success. So we do ask for a time commitment of at least 5 to 10 hours per week that you can dedicate to running a successful student group. Now that is for both of them. We do ask that at least one in your co-organizing team already has experience with community organizing, because we have found that in-person tangible experience really does help with that success. We do ask that one co-organizer is housed within one of those key scientific disciplines for alt proteins, again, remembering just how diverse that scientific umbrella is. And we are looking for an organizer that has a deep familiarity with the alternative protein field. I do want to pause here to kind of say, if any of you hear that and think, uh-oh, I don't actually have a deep familiarity yet. The good news is we've got resources for you so that you can build that deep familiarity. I would point everybody, if you have not looked at it already, to our website, gfi.org. And it is a treasure trove of open access, free to everybody information in which you can get a summary of the basics of alternative proteins. You can go into much deeper dives of the science, of the technology, and of the current industry side of things. It also includes some guides for students, and we have our very own MOOC, a free online course, which will take you through basically everything you need to know for the fundamentals of alternative proteins. So If you don't have a fundamental knowledge, a foundational knowledge yet, you definitely can with the resources available to you. Moving on down the list then, we do ask that at least one of the co-organizers will not be graduating before August of 2025, because we want to ensure that there will be some level of continuity as you are starting your group and building that momentum. And finally, we are looking for at least one person who is comfortable facilitating group discussions, or at least could be with training. And I'm glad that that is listed in there, because as an example, when I was a student, I would refuse to get in front of anybody. And I had very dedicated training to get me comfortable facilitating group discussions. So as long as you are open to it, we are all good there. Moving on to the application itself, just to kind of walk through where we are. The first step is really finding that co-founding team, like-minded individuals, passionate individuals. If you already know them, wonderful. If you meet someone at your favorite vegan restaurant, wonderful as well. And by the end of March, we would be looking for your application to come in. If we are interested in pursuing your application, we will schedule an interview with you. So we would be looking for you and your co-founder. If there are two of you, you can have 2 up to 3 people on your interview, which would be happening between April and May. And for those that we select, you would then participate in our training program that will happen from June to July. This training program will kind of set you up for success with the fundamental knowledge, some of the hard skills of running a group, and some of the soft skills to be effective ambassadors of alternative proteins at your university. This training program is mandatory, but it is also something that is extremely beneficial, frankly, not just for your work at the Alt Protein Project, but just to be an effective leader in any walk of life that you are in. And then once August rolls around, that would be when you officially become a part of the Alt Protein Project and join our global community. So just to reiterate, applications are due March 31st. So I have kind of walked you through the prerequisites, but our website, again, has a lot more information about what we are looking for and how we expect that our student groups can kind of bring our programmatic objectives to life. And as we're talking about the application, I do want to point out that I'm not looking for an incredibly eloquent and polished application. What we are most interested in is your ideas, your passions, and what you hope to do with becoming a part of the Alt Protein Project. So please don't stress too much about perfecting your answers. We're really just trying to get an idea of who you are and what you're hoping to do. And along those lines, I definitely want to reiterate that our goal is to be as inclusive as possible, especially with the acknowledgement that as a global community, we expect and hope that we will be receiving many applications from people who are not writing in their first or second or third language, based on wherever you might be coming from and whatever language you were primarily raised in. And we are excited for that. We will not be penalizing anybody for writing in a language that is not their first, because we are expecting all applications to come in English. As part of that, we will be working with our global team as a part of the application evaluation process. And we're doing this to ensure that language and culture don't pose any barriers to fair evaluation, and we hope to minimize our bias as much as possible. And then if you're thinking about, well, Nathan is based out of the US and I am literally halfway around the world, something else that we try and do in all of our events, this being one of them, is offering different times for people in different time zones. And we try and be as inclusive as possible with that as well. So don't think just because you're on, the opposite side of the world as me that you just will not be available because of the time zone problems. We are doing our best to make things as inclusive as possible there as well. So looking ahead, I do want to point out that every single person here, like you are here, so you're somewhat interested in alternative proteins. That in and of itself means I really hope that you succeed in what you do. Really, no matter what happens with your application, whether we invite you to join the official community or not, I view you as part of the alternative protein community. And so what that means is I want you to succeed, and I want you to use as many of our resources as possible, again, that you can find on the website. We have a fantastic resource hub that kind of walks you through each of our 5 programmatic objectives and like how you would go and do that. The strategies for developing courses, the strategies for building research programs, and the like. Regardless, I really hope that you build an alternative protein student group. And if nothing else, the next year, if you were to apply, that would make you the ideal candidate if you have demonstrated that you have already built an alternative protein group at your university. So again, all of this to say, I really hope I am asking everybody, please don't self-reject, because we at GFI really believe that we can make the biggest impact by making this information available to everybody. And that's what we hope to do with this process. So some of this is reiterating what I have said, but I definitely want to clarify some questions. We absolutely do require a co-founding team of at least 2. And graduate students, anyone in a degree program is welcome to be one of your co-founders. I'm just going to keep on saying that we hope to get applications in from all corners of the globe. And if you are here or you know somebody here who is not in a degree program, but is affiliated with the university in some way, we are always looking for faculty champions or other champions at the university. So I would encourage you to reach out to me, because we can definitely put our heads together to figure out how we might work together to build courses and research programs. And also, hopefully, you would be spreading the word to the students in your circle. Then there is, of course, the question of what we are doing to support you. And we are about to talk about that. Isn't that convenient? So first, the very first thing that we would be doing is that mandatory training program that I was talking about, where you will get hands-on training on everything from how to be effective ambassadors on delivering this message, the state of the science and industry in the alt protein space, some of that mix of hard and soft skills of running and planning and running events, leading effective teams. And we will be walking through all of these things with you to provide that guidance and expertise. Once we are done with the training program, we also offer hands-on workshops and skill building activity as a community, so that you can continue to grow professionally in that context. One of the things that I really do think is the most valuable in our program is the mentorship that we provide. So in all of the tools that we provide, we have mentors who are experts in the alternative protein space that will be walking you through best practices of how to bring your passions into effect at your university. And like I said, we have a fantastic team that spans the globe. So wherever you are, you will have someone who is familiar with your region and how the alternative protein space fits in your specific ecosystem. And as part of GFI, we also have an incredible team of subject matter experts specific to plant-based meats, cultivated meats, fermentation products, the communications around it, the policy, everything. We have so many people here who are really eager to share their knowledge with people in the project. Of course, I've mentioned this before, but our resources are available to everybody, and they are such a wealth of information. Everything from our state of the industry reports to we have an existing guide for people who are just entering the space, as well as those resource hubs that I mentioned previously. But one of the things that I love more than anything else really is the community that we build in the Alt Protein project, because everyone in the community is there for the same reason, because they care about what we are doing, they care about the planet, they care about health, they care about animals, and we can just join and build from each other's passions and build from each other's expertise. So that can take the form of monthly community calls, where sometimes we do those ongoing workshops. We just hosted a workshop, Hannah did, in fact, about retention and recruitment for new members. And sometimes we just hang out, we cook together, we eat together. As Alt Proteins, there are so many delicious foods that we can eat and learn about. We also have a community Slack channel so that we can kind of stay up to date and again, share resources so we don't have to remake the same thing 1,000 times. And GFI also does provide funding to any active groups who request it to support mission-aligned activities. Something else that is really beneficial, just in terms of how change gets made in our, in our current world, is GFI can signal boost the activities that you do, whether that be on social media, or we can amplify any of the events that you give or that you put on by sending our subject matter experts, as an example of for career panels, or for special lectures or talks or symposia, so that you have some of the best people in the field to represent your student group at your event. And finally, we have already found in the 3 years that the Alt Protein project has been in existence that students have been able to use their experience to turn it into a career. So we have had many students land internships and jobs in some of the biggest alternative protein companies around. And this is only within the first 3 years. So I have full expectation that this will just grow as we continue and our alumni core expands. And landing a job like this, honestly, can kind of be thought of as like a natural culmination of your time with the Alt Protein project. But I just want everybody to remember that there is so much more to our community than landing a job. And whether your long-term passion is about research or entrepreneurship or education, or you just want to eat some great food, I really do believe that the Alt Protein project is a fantastic way for you to turn those dreams into a reality. So I know I went a little over half, but at this point, I have basically said my piece. So I hope all of you can tell how excited I am about the prospect of welcoming so many of you into our 2023 cohort. I also fully recognize that I've probably left some questions unanswered. So now we will turn it over to the Q&A session. As a reminder, you're welcome to drop your questions into the chat at any time, or you can unmute yourself and ask directly. So thank you, everybody. Please apply if you are interested. You can always reach out to me directly as well. And yes, I see a hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, I was going to ask, you kept using the word groups and teams, so I was not sure if you guys are preferring a separate club entity of its own, or a subgroup of an already existing activist vegan club.
Thank you for asking that clarifying question. I probably should have said that from the beginning. So what our goal is for our groups in the Alt Protein project is to be a unique and independent group within their university. Now, that said, we have a lot of groups who regularly partner with existing, mission-aligned groups. We have a lot of actually existing groups who originally were a part of their, as an example, effective altruism groups at their university, because there was a lot of mission alignment there. And a lot of times we even have our groups partner with others to host a larger event at their university. But we are looking for specific and independent alt protein project groups. I hope that answered your question. Cool.
I guess I will reply that question again with like how like comfortable with your idea, like the idea of like such this like entity going for like meatless Monday protests or something, or you're solely like staying away from that area where more like research and so on, or maybe like both can work at the same time?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. So I guess the short answer is that if you were acting on behalf of the Alt Protein Project and the Good Food Institute, we ask that that be mission aligned. And so our mission is very fundamentally alternative proteins. So, we would never stop you from doing anything in your own time. But we ask that basically everything be focused on that form of advocacy. So that definitely could take the form of if you wanted to interact with your university dining system and promote integration of alternative proteins and the menus, that could definitely be something that I think sounds like might be similar to what you were talking about. It looks like, Amy, would you like to add something to that?
I would love to. Thanks, Nathan. And thanks for asking this question, Arda. I'm Amy, Associate Director of Scientific Ecosystems at GFI. May have seen some of you in some spaces, but it's really great to have you all here. I think piggybacking off of what Nathan has shared, while many individuals in the Alt Protein Project are vegans and vegetarians and are motivated by a desire to absolve animal suffering and remove them from the food system, it's really important that the Alt Protein Project distinguishes itself from your average vegan or animal rights group on campus. And that's because we are operating from a distinct but complementary theory of change, right? We're working on advancing the supply side, which requires mobilizing scientists and engineers and entrepreneurs and policymakers who might not share that same commitment to the same individual plant-based diet, but nonetheless have really important skills and experiences and kind of power to contribute to this movement. So we try and create as wide of a funnel as possible and avoid alienating individuals from this theory of change that might be turned off by kind of conventional vegan or vegan activism tactics. But to Nathan's point, sometimes those things are overlapping, and we do see many vegan groups and animal welfare groups and sustainability groups and chemical engineering groups, being really great allies on campus for Alt Protein Project chapters.
Thank you for adding that, Amy, and I apologize for dancing around. My cat was trying to turn off my computer. Yes, Sandra?
Hello. So yes, I have a question regarding the timing of the creation of any student group on campus, because like different campuses have like a different deadline for when you can create a student groups, and this may be not necessarily in the same timeline that the Alparian project has, like the timeline. So I want to know if it's recommended to start like the paperwork beforehand or afterwards, after the application process, and if it's encouraged to like start campus activities to like start gaining momentum before like the application process and things like that, if that is seen like as a positive or as a negative. Yeah.
I love that question, and thank you for you're thinking like 5 steps ahead, which is fantastic. So I would say, to directly answer the question, again, we encourage alternative protein student groups regardless of their affiliation with us. So we would encourage you to start building that momentum, as you said, at any point of the application process. We would just ask that before your official acceptance into the alt protein project, that you do not use, our branding, you don't use an affiliation with GFI, because that wouldn't have been established at that time. Now, when it comes to like establishing an official student group at your university, we fully recognize that our annual cycle does not necessarily align, especially because we have groups in both hemispheres at this point. So we basically just work with people. There is no expectation that you are going to somehow make your university change their system. If they only have a 1-month window in the year, we will work with you until that month happens.
So just to add a little bit more context, we have had numerous student groups first become formally affiliated at their university, and they might have called it the Alternative Protein Club or the Alternative Protein Society, which is like a variation of the Alt Protein Project branding, but not using GFI affiliated branding, and then undergo just a small name and branding change once becoming officially affiliated with GFI. So I'm in full support. I think we're all in full support of you going through with establishing a formal student group at the university, given those windows. Just know that, formal GFI branding shouldn't be used until you're actually selected and affiliated with the Alt Protein Project.
Okay, thank you.
There is a question here for you, Nathan, in the chat from Ewan, I believe, thanking you for the presentation. Is the application limited to groups from universities? Are there any nonprofit organizations participating in the Alt Protein Project?
That's a fantastic question. So in terms of establishing a group at the Alt Protein Project, we do ask that those be founded and grounded is probably a more accurate term, in a university. That said, as I had kind of suggested in other areas, we have found many organizations, whether they be for-profit companies, not-for-profits, I'm sure would also fit the bill, who regularly partner with an existing Alt Protein Project group, whether that be, again, for sharing talent, sharing mentorship, or hosting tours and sponsoring student group events. We do also have, depending on your specific role and your organization, I would also welcome you to sign up. I'm dropping the name from my memory right now, specifically of the directory that would be most relevant for this. Amy, if you could fill in my memory gap.
It really depends on what the organization is. Ewan, to the extent that you feel comfortable, do you want to hop off mute and tell us a little bit about your organization? No worries. If not, we can always check. Oh, hello.
Yes, hello. I'm currently participating in, I'm a member of Cellular Agriculture Institute of the Commons in Japan. And I was wondering if like we could be any part of GFI Alt Protein Project.
Got it. Thank you so much for adding specifics. So we're a big fan of cell ag consortiums and nonprofits globally. GFI certainly partners directly with cell ag institutes and nonprofits, and we could explore a collaboration depending on what it is you're looking for. But the Alt Protein Project is a university-based movement. So it is focused on building kind of critical academic infrastructure within the university ecosystem. That being said, we do have unique cases. For example, EIT Food is a pan-European network of universities where we have an alt protein project group established, and they're building programming for the entire network of 7 universities. And I could see other kind of academic networks being a good fit for the alt protein project as well. But in reality, in your case, it seems like it makes the most sense for specific chapters to establish at specific Japanese universities rather than the CellAg Institute itself in Japan housing an alt protein project chapter.
Okay, thank you. So like maybe not the alt protein project, but like maybe we'll be able to like work together through like a different program or like with GFI or something like that.
Absolutely. We recommend that you reach out and we can kind of explore what that might look like.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I did see something just pop up in the chat, but I know there is a hand raised, so we'll go there first.
Hi, Nathan. Thank you for such an informative session. Hi, Amy. I wanted to ask what kind of university level inclusion is required at the time of application if there is no existing student club for alt protein at the university? And adding to that, is it required for the application to contain some sort of faculty supervisor or any university level inclusion just like that?
Yes, thank you. Because I fully recognize starting a group can sometimes pose many more challenges if you are essentially starting from scratch where there is no existing support. We certainly welcome applications regardless of the existing level of support. Of course, your job will likely be much easier if there already is that group or that faculty champion, but it is not a requirement for a successful application. And when we are thinking about what we hope our student groups to do, we think in terms of counterfactual impact, basically, how much change are you creating? And if there is no existing program around alternative proteins at your university, that sets you up to produce that enormous amount of change. One thing that we do ask our student groups to do once they are established is to seek out a faculty mentor, faculty champion, because that definitely does help you affect that change at a university level, whether it be for education, research, or innovation.
Right. Thank you, Nathan.
Of course. Let's go back up to the question in the chat. Have there been any instances of alternative protein project groups from different universities coming together to collaborate on specific projects together? Short answer is yes, and these are, as you say, always extremely exciting. I, in fact, had a meeting just today about one such collaboration between the alt protein projects in Cambridge and Cornell, where they are developing an ecosystem to empower students to be authors of review literature about alternative protein science and technology. And that is literally something that just happened today. And many of our groups have partnered to host larger events, especially virtual ones. So that is definitely something that happens. I am absolutely loving. Oh, that is right. Yeah, I forgot about the upcoming symposium, including my alma mater. As I was going to say, I am absolutely loving these questions. Please keep them coming. If you are someone like me who thinks of the perfect question like 5 minutes after the session ends, again, I welcome you to email me. I'd be happy to chat about the application process or the project. I will type my email here. Can I actually type and talk at the same time? Yes, that is correct. There we go.
All righty. Are there any additional questions in our last 5 minutes together?
Okay, well, as we are slowing down, I will kind of end the formal conversation there. I just want to say one last time that this has been fantastic to me, to see so many people here that are excited about bringing the Alt Protein project to their university. So please keep the conversation going if you would like. As a reminder, we will be posting a recording of this session on our YouTube page in the coming days. We'll also be following up with an email to whatever email you registered with, so you can have the links to those if you want to go over it again, or please share it with a friend. They might be your future co-organizer. So I sincerely hope to see a lot of your applications to be coming through in the coming weeks. Just remember, our goal is to make this process open and inclusive. So if you're here, that means I want you to succeed. And if we can help in any way, that is what we are here for. So I really look forward to reading your application. Thank you, everybody, for spending some time with us. And I really look forward to talking with you more in the future.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.